think there should be. There was going to be. I was going to do a song.
I mean, I've just started recording, so if you want to start singing, you go for it.
Well, I mean, let's do a marker first of all, Matthew, because that's what the best people do.
Well, I normally do the marker. I'm a professional that's this way, so I'll take your lead. Go for it.
Right, okay. We do it.
Clapping.
Oh, yeah. We do 1, 2, 3, and then clap, because that's how all the good people do it. So
how many times do you 1, 2, 3 clap? Once or numerous times?
I just do it once because only. Why would you do it more than once?
You only do one take. I don't do second takes. I do 3 times. I do 3. 3 claps.
Wow. I suppose we could.
No, let's do 1.
Let's just do.
You're the expert.
We just do okay.
You're on episode 200 and something. I'm on episode about 40. So you're the expert, mate.
Yeah, but I see you're considerably better well known than we are.
Well. It's shameless. It's shameless self-promotion that does that.
Well, shameless self-promotion is a good thing. There's nothing wrong with shameless self-promotion. Let's face it.
I'm against it, but
I love it. Anyway, shall we do a marker?
Yeah.
Okay, so 1, 2, 3, clap. 1.
Did you do?
2.
Did you count to 4?
Clap. 1, 2, 3, clap.
We're done. That's
plenty. That's all over the shop.
I like to try and catch people out. I kind of do a 1, 2, 3 clap.
I did that way. I did that in the previous one before. I went like that. I went 1, 2, 2.5, 2 3/4, 5.
Because the only person it's extra work for is us, because we're the ones that edit these shows.
I know. I think the best thing I ever did was when I had the guys from the Staying In podcast on, and they at the beginning were going, Richard, should we do a marker? I said, no, it'll be fine. It'll be fine. 35 minutes in, I'm actually taken to punching myself in the face because I realised I didn't do a marker. And of course, nobody starts recording at the same time. Nobody stops recording at the same time. So I'm trying to put everything in together, and it was just an actual. It took a long time.
I've had some nightmare editing experiences. Once we finished recording a show, and my computer for some reason had not done any recording, even though I pressed stop and it was gone. So I had to re-record the entire. We did the show. We kept it. So I had to re-record my part of the whole show, but I had to do it listening to the bleed from someone else's audio track, and then I had to recreate the whole show by trying to act it out.
I did that as well.
It's a nightmare.
I did it with Henry from Grubbling Games. My computer was running low in space, and I went, okay, well, what I'll do is I'll go and delete some of these Audacity project files, because they're massive. I mean, they can be
I just deleted 60 gigabytes of Logic files off my computer.
Exactly. So I went in and I went ding, 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 ding. I was doing it alphabetically or whatever. And then I realised I deleted his project file. I had his audio, didn't have mine. So I had to go back in and basically do what you did, which was... But I didn't have a bleed track because his track was so clean. So clean.
You had to pretend.
I actually had to
work it out.
All my little peccadillos and nuances and stuff. And luckily,
it's not the same, is it?
I'm a quite boring man, so I just see the same thing again and again and again. In fact, probably you could take the track from previous episodes, just put it in, and nobody would notice this slightest thing. So we're going to make it different. Let's start. Let's have a break for silence and let's go, because it's 25 past and we've done fuck all. Okay, me. I'm focused.
Focus, God's sake.
Hey Jude, don't be so sad. Take a board game and ask some questions. Remember to let it into your heart so you can start to score them better. There you go.
I'm not going to interrupt. I wanted to see how long you'd go with that.
I can't go any further. Hello, Matthew. I've got joined by
Hello.
Matthew Jude. Matthew Jude is famous for a couple of things. He's famous for being the third arm.
I think you're using the word famous incorrectly, but carry on.
The third, just don't interrupt the flow. He's famous for being the third regular member of the Sporadically Bored podcast with
That's me.
With Dan Hughes and Mike DeLucio, and we did a whole thing earlier. We were just doing impressions of Dan, and we're not going to continue. But the other thing is, of course, everybody that probably knows, he's going to go, why is he speaking to this stupid Scotsman? We prefer when he's asking questions and getting people's knowledge, and he's talking about this game is broken. But he is, you're kind of like, you're the man with the plan, you're the man with the questions, you're the man in charge of herding these people towards the knowledge that is known as this game is broken. Am I correct or not?
Yes. I'm the point man for this game is broken. And by that I mean the person who is in charge of the email address. But yes, that's me.
You're like the Sue Barker.
I am. I'm the Sue Barker of this game is broken.
Which is good fun. I'm incredibly excited to get you on. Obviously we missed each other the last time I was on Sporadically Bored, but you seem to have become like a regular guest. I don't know how that's happened. If you just kind of turned up.
I think that every time Dan is like without a guest, he's just messaged me about 20 minutes before and said, "Do you fancy coming and doing a podcast?" I'm like, "For you, Dan, yes."
We have to say
I'm no quitter.
I'm no quitter. Do you bring that up every time? He brings that up every time. I think, actually, if we're going to be saying anything that Dan Hughes says at all, we have to say it in Dan Hughes' voice. That's what we have to say. We're quite excited about you being here tonight, Matthew.
Well, I 3D printed my bathroom toilet, something about a disco toilet, 3D printing.
I don't know, I'm excited about dying, maybe.
I'm angry, actually, because if he listens to this, he's going to get a great sense of joy knowing that we're talking about him.
Oh, he's lovely. I had such a good time. I had such a good time. So, yeah.
I just spent the weekend actually with him and Ben Maddox from 5 Games to Doomsday. We went to the Yorkshire Moors and played some board games for a weekend. It was excellent. I also play board games every now and again.
Oh, do you?
Only not as much as I have to deal with them in every other capacity, but I do enjoy actually playing them when I get a chance. It's great. Instead
of like sitting there and writing ingenious questions about them all the time. I mean, it must be like, it's kind of like, this is my job now. This is my job. Do you know what I have I'm instantly realising is that we have not even approached doing the proper kind of hello to everybody who's out there. And at all. We've just kind of dived straight in there. It's all over the place. It's all over the place, Matthew. It's an actual disaster. We need to go to the question. I've dropped my kind of my cards that keep me on track. Where have they gone? It doesn't matter.
You've got show notes.
No.
That's exciting. No. There's no need for show notes.
I bet you've got tons of show notes.
I do. We do show notes. We have homework for his shows.
Wow.
No one does it, and every episode I have to shout at least once, "Did you not read the show notes?"
Oh my word!
It's fine though. It's fine. I love the power, so that's where I get off. If I'm more than anything, so that's fine. It's good, chaos.
Do you know what I like to do when we're not wizards?
Go on.
Apart from not being wizards, is we do like to find out we do like, it's the easiest thing in the world to be as well. It's kind of like you just get up in the morning and you go, well, no magic today.
Still not a wizard.
Still not a wizard. I mean, go make a cup of tea and say, oh, if only I could, if caffeine ramus and fill my cup. And it's like, it doesn't work, does it?
Thank God.
Work. You can just sit here and be non-magical. It's the laziest. It's the laziest. It's the laziest way to get on with my life.
You're an expert at being completely non-magical, which is fantastic. Really.
And just non-interesting and everything. I didn't want to call the podcast "We're Not Interesting."
Have you heard of this new ironic podcast?
Exactly. Can you imagine that? And remember, we're many things, but we're not interesting. It's like if you got to the end, you'd probably if you get to the end and you get to the end and you get to the secret code word, email it to us and we'll send you something. Thanks for getting to the end of We're Not Interesting at All.
I actually listen to a podcast like that called Sleep With Me. It's a podcast that helps put you to sleep. Have you heard of Sleep With Me?
I don't know if okay. I always worry about these things, is that you get these people at the beginning, it's like the ASMR people. Yeah,
I'm into it. I'm deep into ASMR, deep into it at this point. I see what you're saying. What you're going to say is that you want to be careful, right? Because you don't want to fall asleep and then just keep on saying kill everyone. And you don't.
It wouldn't be, because if I did it, I'd do this. I'd be like that, and I'd go, "No, you're resting, and you're gentle, and the soft, warm pillow of sleep is resting around your head. But for tomorrow."
Against you.
I was going to say, but for tomorrow, you're going to think one of your legs is shorter than the other. You just see all these people going round in just circles. They're trying to get to the bus and they can't. They can't get out the driveway.
They can't get. There's just a wave of people just in a heap on the floor at the bottom of their stairs. They didn't.
Oh my word! That's such a tragedy. That's so terrible.
That's it. Sleep With Me, right? It's a podcast where he kind of says in his dulcet, creaking tones, like this. He talks like this all the time. But he tells a story that is just interesting enough for you to listen to it, but not interesting enough for you to care about what he's saying. Yeah. And honestly, it's a great skill, but I can't sleep without something. I think I get addicted to these things that help me sleep, but it's better than, pain medicine, I suppose.
It's better than doing a shame cry.
I've had some great dreams.
It's amazing. I don't know. As I say, I'd always be aware that I would do that. I'd know I'd end up. You know what I mean? It's like,
he reassures people that he doesn't do that. He has on occasion reassured people. He says, "I've got no ulterior motive. I'm not going to tell you to do anything when you're suggest anything to you."
But how do you know? Yeah. Because you try and listen just to check.
But you can't, because you'll be asleep. I wonder how anyone edits that show.
Maybe I don't know. Maybe he just does the same show again and again and again.
Halfway through, he only records the first half of all these shows. The second half is just the same thing over and over and over again.
It is. It's like a Little Britain, when you used to get Matt Lucas pretending to be Barbara Cartland. Yeah. And Jerry then grabbed the Bible and he took Gladys in his arms and he said, "Let me read this to you." And he opened the first page. "In the beginning there was darkness." And he turns around the transcriber, she's like tapping away, and he goes, "There you go, just keep going." It's like, okay, that's what maybe he does that just every time. He's sitting there just watching the $50,000 a month he's getting on Patreon just rack up.
I think he does make a fair whack on Patreon. I think he's got about. I worked out. I was looking at his Patreon. I was like, if everyone is just donating $1, he's on $4,000 a month for this show, which is insane, right? And they're not just donating $1. But anyway, it's good for him. Oh, well good for him. I'm not
going to put a man down who's getting paid for his hobbies.
That's true.
You realise halfway through he's going to go, "You don't need that $5. You don't need it. You're a winner. Winners don't need $5. Winners need to give $5 to me."
That's it. He could do all those adverts like at the end of the show when everyone's very suggestible. That's what I would do. I wouldn't be. You can't trust me to do anything like this. I'd
be terrible.
That thing where people, responsibility and all that kind of stuff. With great power comes great responsibility. Yeah. I would take the power and leave the responsibility.
I'd be a bad guy. I'd be a bad guy.
Instantly be a bad guy.
I would be a bad guy. If I was a Spider-Man, I'd just be webbing people as they went past, just for fun. Do you know what I mean? I
just know that. I just know I'd be a baddie. How could you not? Just get whatever you want and don't. It's easy. Just do it.
Exactly. Superman. Wow.
I'd rather I'd help out if I was bored. But I
know.
You being a goodie is massively overrated anyway, I think.
But then I think you kind of feel obliged to. But then there'd be nothing wrong with being a bit bad. You could be a bit bad and a bit good. You could have 2 masks. You could have another mask in your pocket. Or you could do
no one's ever seen Spider-Man and evil Spider-Man at the same time in the same place.
Exactly. Oh, look, there's evil Spider-Man. Hide your handbags. I'll take that. And you could have an evil Spider-Man mask, but you've got like a moustache on the top of it that you could stand there and twiddle.
I think that's a series of comics that needs.
That's the Spider-Verse. That's probably in the new film.
Oh yes, that's the Spider-Verse. That's what that's about.
Which I'm looking forward to. Totally.
I mean, it's gonna be great.
I'm kind of excited because it's one of these things. Is my son, who is old enough to take along to movies of this ilk. So we went along and then we seen the Lego Batman movie, which I had an absolute hoot at. I thought it was really, really funny, and
I've heard it's very good.
It's one of the best Batman films that there is. In all
I can
honesty.
believe that.
It is just the way it's got a musical number at the beginning. It's just amazing, and you're just like, yeah, this is Batman. But it also captures the complete kind of the aloneness of his life, of the fact he's a millionaire going about his place, and he has just the same dinner every night, and he's always got his bat mask on, because it's like, why would you bother well, let's face it, if you go to work, on occasions you come back and you either do a couple of things. You kind of keep your work clothes on, or you get changed, or you don't bother getting your work clothes on, and you just like kind of sit there, and then you have a wee nap, and then you say, I better get my dinner. And that's what he does. He's just sitting about with his mask on going, I'm Batman, which is always kind of good fun. One of the things that we like to do is we like to talk about board games, and we're not wizards, but I don't think we'll bother, to be honest.
I was sporadically bored there for a second.
Like that, sporadically? What, not B-O-R-E-D? We could do. It was a little bit. Even see, since I've been on there, it's kind of made me think that maybe there's more to life than board games, that we can talk about other things, Matthew. I don't know.
That's terrifying though, isn't it?
It is kind of terrifying. It's kind of like the safety of cardboard,
Well, the thing is, right, with Theresa May and having such a... No, let's not go.
Oh my word. Worker placement means worker placement. I think the most interesting discussion...
I put that worker there to do a job.
And I say you've voted no confidence in me, and you're definitely all thinking that I am the werewolf. You blinked, didn't you? I don't know. Can you mix? I don't want to mix board games and politics. It takes me down a dark, deep place that I play board games to get away from it.
That's exactly... You know what? That is something... That's something I tend to feel, and I appreciate when some people say that. I'm lucky to be able to do that, to separate board games and politics, right? But board games is my escapist hobby.
Yes.
So I don't. You know what? Sometimes I don't feel guilty for trying to separate board games and politics. I really don't. I mean, there's certain topics which you want to where you can't separate politics because it's a social science, as it were. But sometimes I'm just like, you know what? I'm not ignoring I'm not trying to disassociate politics with board games. I'm ignoring the entire of the outside world because at the moment I'm making some wine. That's what I'm doing. I don't care. I'm here to just have a nice time. I'm chilling out. Do you know what I mean?
Self-care is important.
Self-care is important.
One of my good friends said quite recently on their own podcast that fight the good fight, but remember, sometimes take yourself away from it and give yourself some you time, and try not to think about everything else that's going on, because otherwise, if you did that all the time, you end up it just becomes too much. You need to switch off. You need to be able to take a break. You need to worry about yourself for a little bit.
I think about this with people who do political podcasts and that kind of stuff. And I just think, wow, you can't ever switch the world off, because that's the forum of the information that you're getting, right? And I just think that would be... the burnout on. I mean, you never stuck with stuff to talk about, but the burnout rate must be huge for people doing like satire and that kind of stuff. It's just absolutely massive.
Is there satire though? I mean, does satire still exist? I mean, I was thinking with the current things that are going on, is there anywhere for satire people to kind of go with stuff? I mean, I watched the first episode, of In the Thick of It. Oh, and that's the one where he goes in and he says, the Prime Minister loves you, thinks you're brilliant, but you've got to go. And I just thinking, this is now a documentary. This is not some kind of clever, half-witted kind of satire. It's just, this is real life.
You say this, and not everyone's going to get this reference, and I don't know if you've watched all of The Thick of It, but I spent a lot of yesterday shouting, "Are you up for the chop, Mrs. May?" and I just imagine, because it's beyond, that is beyond satire now. The Thick of It is exactly what's happened. There's that episode of The Thick of It, right, where they spend the whole episode going for a leadership thing, and there's like everyone's running. The two sides are broken up into two sides, and there's two camps, and everyone's stabbing each other in the back, and then at the end of it, nothing happens, right? That is what happened yesterday.
I know.
I mean, word for word almost what happened yesterday, other than the party involved was the different party, that, because we all know that the Labour and Tory are right in the thick of it, but they never mention it, right?
Yeah.
But, and that's exactly what happened yesterday. So it's reality. But I think satire is still a very valid form of entertainment. I believe in satire. I really do.
I wonder, though, if people are now struggling to actually write it because they must wake up in the morning and go, he's not done this now. Or, they've not done that now. And you can scrunching up paper or pressing Control A, then deleting the entire kind of script.
I just see a lot of... I do follow this kind of stuff because comedy writing was one of the things I really, really wanted to do in life and then failed. So I thought, I'll just do board games. But they'll take anyone. But I thought, I do think satire's got lazy, and I think I just think there's a mass. There's the people aren't willing to take the Mickey, I believe would be the nice way to say it, out of their own side ideologically and stuff, and it's just like everything's, if it's a free for all, you've got to be able to take the piss out yourself as well. I don't know. I feel like people need to just.
It was a fair game. It was a fair. Okay, hark your mind back to Spitting Image. I don't remember
exactly what I was just thinking of.
Spitting Image.
No, I was just exactly what I was just thinking of.
It was never. It was kind of. They never kind of just picked on one side. Yeah, it was always just, they never ever picked on one side. They had, they had Thatcher coming, because this was the days of Thatcher and Reagan and Gorbachev, and you had kind of Norman Tebbit going around in a leather jacket. I'm going to threaten you, sir.
I mean,
it's like a gangster.
Exactly.
But now you get the last leg, and it just seems to be going for the same side, which I understand because.
Look at them. Is it the MASH? Is it the MASH report? Is that what it's called?
There's that as well.
Nish Kumar.
Yeah.
It's so one-sided that it's just. I don't know. I just feel like, if you say something negative about someone on the opposing side, that gets a laugh, and it's like we didn't no thoughts going into. I don't know. I mean, I'm a liberal person, but I don't certainly don't agree with everything on the liberal. I didn't realise I didn't mean to get this into politics. I'm so sorry.
I know.
But it's just one of those things. And I think the only people that do it at the moment quite well. I think I'm still. I'm sorry, I haven't. I know. Have I got news for you?
Oh yeah.
They still seem to have a kind of a do both sides, which is.
But I think they kind of balance up with the presenters. And they present it because with the panel guests, so you've not always got that kind of thing, Is it with you? Because I'm in the good situation, right? We're having a conversation about anything at all. Yeah. So about 45 minutes ago, I was having a conversation with somebody else, and that was a completely different topic. We're talking about retail and Amazon and. Selling your games into into bookshops and stuff like that. It's a completely different topic. Whereas you've got to follow a format. Is it? I mean, with This Game Is Broken, yeah, when you took up the reins, we'll talk a little bit about it. We don't have to talk about it all the time, because I'm sure it's one of these things.
I'm just glad you changed the topic.
It's like, it's like Sandy Shaw walking on to Good Morning Britain and saying, if you talk about puppet on a string, I'm going to walk. That's a famous thing that happened to Sandy Shaw in Good Morning Britain with Mike Morris. And she looked at him with her cold, dead eyes, and she says, Mike, if you play that clip of Puppet on a String
I'm
and
gone.
me at the Eurovision Song Contest, I'm off. I'm walking. And Mike looked at her with his puppy dog, slightly silly eyes and went, cut to the video. And it was like a puppet on a string.
What a song, though.
Sandy Shaw just throws down various objects and then just walks. You should just walked, But what I'm saying to you is, in terms of, you knew how the show was going, you knew how it was all formatted. I mean, was it kind of taking on a behemoth? Was it quite intimidating at the time? Because there was buzz, and there still is an immense amount of buzz about the show, because I haven't heard of anybody else that stepped up and said, let's do a little bit of comedy around the board game scene, or let's do, I hear a lot of stuff that I do, which is interview people, I hear a lot of people just having general kind of news chat. This Game Is Broken is still something that's kind of out there and is still very, very much loved, and still gets a lot of attention, and people are still talking about it, and you still seem to be getting your regular kind of different guests and stuff like that on. When you knew you were going to be stepping up to the plate, were you kind of a little bit, this is squeaky bum time kind of thing?
Well, we everyone kind of like pitched in and helped out and stuff and doing stuff, and we kind of have a rotating host format now, largely because it's just so it's not always the same host and stuff. But I do most of the stuff for This Game Is Broken. I mean, I don't think anyone would be upset in me saying that, because I do. And I do like pretty much all our YouTube content at the moment. I'm doing, although Dave Luther's doing some YouTube content for us now as well, and all that kind of stuff. But me and Dan would work on it together a lot. Dan was doing a lot of the stuff, but we would talk a lot to each other and stuff. We were working together on stuff, and because I do all the editing and stuff. I mean, even when Dan was running the show, I was still probably doing more hours on the show, which is fine. Which is fine, and Dan will tell you that just as much as I will. I think, and but no, I was just
see him in the corner going, he did bugger all. He did bugger all.
3D printer weapon.
3D print himself a Matthew Jude so he could appear in the next show.
just to thrash in the corner. But no, the biggest worry was that we weren't going to be able to keep the show going. I mean, we kept stuff. I couldn't, all like passwords and that kind of stuff. I got an email and everything, because we got like a PayPal accounts, all this kind of stuff. So that was great, and Dan did a good job of handing over the reins quite well in that regard and stuff. But we still were down a cast member, and stuff like that. But we managed to kind of rally ourselves, I think, quite quickly. We didn't miss a show, which was the most important thing for us.
Yeah.
So that we just kind of like plodded along and stuff. But the actual making of the actual podcast and the recording of it and stuff, that's the easiest bit of the whole thing, I think. That's the fun bit, So in that regard, everything kind of just kept on going, and which is good. And this doesn't mean that it does say that no one's irreplaceable. Is that the way you say that phrase? No one. Yeah. Everyone's replaceable. Everyone's in a large sense and stuff, because when it's a team effort, So that's good. I mean, I'm just happy that we're still doing it and stuff, and it seems to be growing, because I've just started doing YouTube stuff, and our YouTube channel has been growing. We've grown by about 1,000 subs in the last month, maybe. So that's pretty good. It's not going to keep on like that, but if you kept on for the next 150 years like that, we'd have
We'd have £1.50.
It's good. I mean, I'm happy with the way it's going. It's I'm just trying to get over at the moment. You know, I'm really trying to just get over. I'm trying to get like a month ahead on everything. But for Christmas, we've done 2 bonus shows.
Yeah,
which is 2 bonus shows is on top of everything else. It doesn't sound like it's a lot of work, but it's such a lot of work. Because it takes me 7 or 8 hours to edit a show, you know, and it's just.
No, I put an update recently just to say, you know, here's, you know, we've got. I interviewed Patrick Leader from Leader Games. Yeah, lovely guy, really funny. Love his games that he makes. And
what about the rumours?
They're kind of true, but anyway, yeah, maybe. But then I says, you know, to put this together, it took like 4 hours, and there was no major editing or anything like that. But it takes, you know, I've got to get the tracks. I've got to download the tracks first. You know, if you give me the tracks, and if it's you know, it takes like, you know, 10-15 minutes. That's 10-15 minutes to download the tracks. I've then got to spend 5-10 minutes kind of lining them up. I've then got to like sort the sound files in the first place. I've got to, you know, normalize them and take away all the background noise and then compress them and everything like that. And it's just like, and then I've got to listen to the whole thing, and then I've got to kind of maybe listen to it again because check for the markers that I've put in, and then I've got to make sure that it all kind of flows and maybe potentially take out a couple of ums and ahs. It's 4 hours. There you go.
I was talking
to a lot of stuff. You know?
Yeah, I was talking to someone recently. There's a Facebook. There's a Facebook group called Board Game Reviewers and stuff like that, right? And I think that's the full title: Board Game Reviews and stuff like that. And someone was asking about. It's much like this show. Someone was asking about podcasts and stuff, about Zencaster, which is a way that people record podcasts sometimes. Don't use it; it's garbage. But there
you go.
It is. This is the best way to do it. Like recording locally. Record locally, people. And they're asking about. Oh, I never thought about getting someone else to edit it and stuff. And because I edit a couple podcasts on the side, right, as a source of income for myself, right. And I said, and they said, how much does it cost to get your podcast edited? And I said, even at minimum wage, it's normally more than anyone's willing to pay.
Yes.
To have the work done. And I said, because if your show's an hour long, it's going to take, the very minimum it's going to take me to edit it is 2 hours.
Yes.
Because I have to listen to the show twice.
Yes.
So, and then if I have to do any actual work on the show, it's going to take longer. And you are right, it's stuff like downloading files and uploading files, and it sounds like, that doesn't sound like, but it's an extra hour on top of everything. You know, because I edit sporadic. I don't edit sporadically board. Thank God. I edit Board Games Insider, right?
All right. Okay.
And which is Stephen Bonacor's and Ignacy Chevicek's podcast.
Yeah.
And I edit that now, and I do that very much at a mate's rate kind of rate, but. And their podcast is like 45 minutes long, but it still takes 3 hours to do. You know, 3 or 4 hours, because you're being paid to make people sound good, right? So you don't want you want to do a good job but you know, and it's just one of those things, isn't it? I just basically you want to do a professional job, but it's weird, isn't it? Podcast editing. It takes a lot more time than you think it's going to take. And when I do This Game Is Broken, there's 5 audio tracks, and I cut up. I've been averaging it out. I've been checking when I've been going back. And I average it out at about 1,200 edits, because I see how many different audio bits I have at the end and move it all around and stuff. It's it's a massive job. I'm not, even if you don't like the content, right? I'm really good at the actual editing bit because I did it at uni, right? I did music at uni. So I'm proficient at it. So someone who's not as, and I've done so much of it that I'm quick and I don't turn my brain off while I do it. But if you don't know, it's like when I started doing video, every little tiny thing was taking me an hour because I had to keep on going onto YouTube to work out where that button was.
Yeah. I know.
So,
it's just intimidating as well, and it's also the case of ruining some. I mean, we're talking about over editing as well, and I've heard over editing on podcasts, and there's a certain kind of ebb and flow. I'm not a person who's going to necessarily take out somebody's ums and ahs every time they do it, unless it's like obvious that they're maybe struggling to get to the to get to formulate the point. You know, they're sitting there going, well, and I'll maybe clip it a little bit, but I'm not the type of person I'm going to take it every single time they kind of draw a breath and stuff like that, because I think it kind of ruins the flow of the kind of the situation.
It destroys authenticity, I think, sometimes.
Yeah, I have edited other people's podcasts, and it took me longer to edit their podcast because I'm conscious I didn't want them sounding silly.
Well, that's
Do you know what I mean?
Well, exactly. Yeah. Well, because I do like Board Games Insider, and there's two problems with that. It's firstly is Stephen Wanacore talks so fast sometimes that he stutters over his words, because he talks he's a very energetic person, and Ignacy, English isn't his first language, so sometimes he'll kind of like takes him a second to fall into the word. I mean, he's perfectly fluent in English, but sometimes when you're thinking on the spot, you know, like Dave Loser speaks completely fluent English, but he is translating in his head all the time. So I mean, I mean, even if I've been studying a language for 100 years, I'll never be able to record a podcast in a foreign language. But you want to make people. The whole point is you want to make people sound good, right? And I was editing another podcast for someone, and and because I didn't know what they want, they didn't give me any real brief. I just did it really crisp. I did it so every was gone, and you can, you know, and I tried to make it as clean as possible. And I sent it back to him, and he said, "I don't like this. It sounds too clean. It doesn't sound like a real conversation anymore." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And so I did it again. And you can't. It's once you've just dissected something into 1,000 pieces, it's very hard to put it. So I had to start from scratch again. And I did the whole show again for them, and it took about a fifth of the time, and I only did a fifth of the work. And he got back and went, "Oh yeah, this is much better." I was like, "Well, okay.
Thanks for that.
I can do less work. That's no problem. That's no problem."
Exactly. Obviously, I'll do it. I can do it. I'll just charge you the same as I did last time, though, because you can understand. You can understand it takes. You know, it is back to like not being a wizard again. You know, sometimes it's just as easy to do kind of nothing kind of at all.
I was thrilled when he said it was overdone. Anyway, go on. Sorry, carry on.
No, I was going to say, in terms of you having to think about games and having to think about, you know, getting involved in the question side of things and surrounding yourself in the kind of the industry. And obviously now you're at the point you're kind of building brand because you're talking kind of like YouTube and, you know, there's that continual kind of thing. Do you
Resent
still
everyone?
Get the chance? No, yes. I mean, is there a lot of hate? I mean, for instance, do you look at anything that, you know, certain people kind of put out there on Twitter and you're just like, oh my word, if your Twitter was an actual bird, I'd shoot it. But no, what I'm saying is, are you still enjoying the hobby as much? Now that it's almost becoming kind of like, this is almost something like this is a partial thing. I'm doing a lot of work. I'm having to do some investigation. I'm having to do some research kind of here. Are you still getting the chance? Do you still have the ability to cut away from that and say, right, I'm just going to sit down. I've got my Monopoly. Bring it on. Give me the car. Bush.
Brum, brum. That's a hard questions are coming out now. I think in some ways I enjoy the hobby less because of it, and in some ways I feel like I get a lot more out of it because it's not just my hobby now. Because I'm doing it. I mean, I'm not being paid particularly, but we do have a pod pledge, or it's going to be a Patreon soon. But we do have that, but there's no real money involved, and because everything goes, you know, we try and be quite democratic about the money and stuff, but not that. And again, there's no, and we're not sponsored by anyone because I feel like people have not wanted to sponsor us because, you know, it's adult content a lot of the time, and no one's ever approached us about sponsorship and stuff, and that really annoyed me for a while. And I thought, okay, I get it. We're not. Days of Wonder don't want to sponsor a podcast that does a round called In My Pants. So I get that, but so I enjoy the social aspects of the hobby, like doing stuff like this, hanging out. I did a thing earlier today, right, where Mark Street from Board Game Corner he does stuff on the Dice Tower as well, and he's on a new format, a new platform called Caffeine, which is like Twitch basically, but it's a different thing. It's just called Caffeine, and I just hung out with him for an hour and a half when he's building the Millennium Falcon, right, out of Lego on Caffeine, and I hung out with him for an hour and a half on there and stuff, and it's completely taken over my life in a way that I was not expecting it to. I mean, it's completely taken over my life, and I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, if I'm perfectly honest, because I can hear Dan Hughes in the background of my brain saying you don't want to be doing that. I get that. I do understand that, but I keep on trying to get over the hump of I want to get a month ahead on everything so I can just not think about it for a little while, but it never seems to happen. It comes down to actually getting in front of a game with my brother or with some good friends and just playing a game. I don't enjoy that any less for having played, and I know that's always going to be there when I finish doing board game media, because I don't think board game media it's not my long-term plan. I don't think that's a sensible long-term plan, really. I think you needed to get here about 5 or 6 years earlier to have that, because as a long-term, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit cynical. And because you see I don't know. I don't know if I enjoy it less. I think I'm conscious of the fact that it's taking over my life a little bit, maybe too much, if that makes sense.
No, I think it's difficult to... You have to be strict. You have to be strict about saying no. I think you have to be willing to kind of step back a bit and actually say, do you know what, this time I can't. I'd love to, but I can't. And I'm finding that myself, because it's very, very easy for me to keep recording. I mean, to be honest, if the financial side of things wasn't a concern, I could quite easily do lots more stuff. I would do videos, I'd be doing I try and do special, different, specific kind of podcasts and stuff like that. But there's two things. There's the kind of the oversaturation with the brand, because people only take too much. But there is also the point where you start spending time on creating the media over actually the reason that you got into the media in the first place, which was because you enjoyed getting involved in the hobby so much.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, because I find myself doing, and I keep on trying to get over this hump, right, like I said, and I keep on doing and people kind of will say, that's nonsense, that's rubbish, you're lying. But I keep on doing 10, 12-hour days on this kind of stuff, writing and recording and doing all this stuff. It's like, how can you do it? Well, it takes me 3 or 4 hours, in a day to get back to, because I like to reply to everything on if I like to reply to everyone on Twitter and all that. Just social media takes hours of time, right? And replying to YouTube comments and that kind of stuff. And sometimes I think, and I can't turn it off, right? Because it's there on my phone. My Twitter on my phone isn't my Twitter. It's TGIB's Twitter, and it's there. And if someone says something, I want to respond, and I want to respond. But I think sometimes I need to learn to take a day, to take some time away from the internet. I think the only way to do it is for me to take time away from the internet en masse, right? Completely. Because it's difficult. And, it's not my job, but I'm treating it like it is my job, and that's probably not the best thing to do.
Do you end up being trapped in the situation where people are expecting Matthew Jude, the personality, and not Matthew Jude being Matthew Jude? Do you know what I mean? As in, they're expecting, they send a message to you or they tweet at you, and you're like gonna go, oh, I've got to put this hat on, and I've got to respond back. Where's my moustache? I can't twiddle it. Oh my goodness! I hope the webcam's not on, kind of thing.
I do,
but they're expecting, you're kind of expecting that kind of hey, quick, way, here we go.
I did consider toning my kind of stage persona down a little bit so that I could be more myself a bit more of the time, because I do have this bit of a stage persona, right, which is because my Twitter thing is Matthew Jude, missing, presumed dead, and my bio says loved by all, mauled by bears, and which I thought was very funny. And I do kind of keep up this life's terrible kind of persona, right? And I'm actually quite pleasant to be around sometimes. Life's not that bad, but yeah, I know. But I think more than anything, I'm just very, and I don't want to sound like too cliche, but really, when I think about it, I'm very lucky and blessed to be doing what I'm doing, and I do enjoy doing it. And I'm grateful, and I think I don't come off that way sometimes, and I should do, really, because I am grateful to be doing what I'm doing. Although I do work very hard to do what I am doing, but
Yeah.
we are lucky, because some people, some people put just as much work into it as I do, for instance, and don't get that recognition. I think we have been lucky on TGIB. We've been. It kind of got to a good kind of like stage really quickly, which is good. It's the growth has slowed, obviously, but we got to where we wanted to be very quickly, and that's not. That's a lot of people give up because the slog to get there takes such a long time. I don't know. It's difficult. You don't want to see people give up on stuff, but
then then you get moments like, see, Friday, last Friday, and I was going to the club.
Oh yeah,
and I had a copy of not the dancing club, the dwarf
club.
I
thought you meant vodka on.
No. The dwarf club, which I go to on Fridays.
That's it.
And it's the Dunfermline Worship and Role Playing Fellowship, so it does actually stand for something, which is amazing. And at the same time, I wonder how long it took for that.
That was retrofitted, wasn't it?
It's just exactly. It's just amazing.
Just Noble Order of Huddersfield Gore Gamers is knob.
You go down to Huddersfield. Anyway, but then I had Vindication in my bag from Orange Nebula. I had Root from Leader Games in there. I had Assembly from Ren Games. I had, what else did I have? And I had Ravage Dungeon Explorer or something like that, by Bearded Brother Games. And I looked down and I went, I've had every one of them on the show.
That's kind of cool, isn't it?
It is. I was like, I've actually spoken to every single person that's like been involved in those games in my bag. If I open my cupboard now, I'm struggling to look at games that I haven't. It's like,
yeah.
It's like I've got, there's Wasteland Express Delivery Service. Yeah, well, John Gilmore's been on.
John Gilmore's been on my show. It's great, isn't he?
I know, he's just fantastic. He's such a lovely guy. But it's that kind of thing that you're going to go, this is actually kind of worthwhile, because like kind of meeting the people. But I know what you mean, because sometimes, I don't know, I kind of play that always that I'm not going to do the kind of try to be a personality thing, because first of all, I've not got a personality, and secondly, I wouldn't be very good at it. I'd probably get it tripped up. Do you know what I mean? I'd be the type of person that somebody would come up to me at UK Games Expo, and you go, I see the T-shirt, I just really love the show. I just go, fuck off. And then I'd be like, oh, sorry. That would be it. I'd be finished. I'd be gone.
You'd be banned from Twitter, I'll tell you that.
I know, exactly. It's that kind of thing. I've got kind of imposter. Do you get imposter syndrome as well? You're sitting there going, look at everything I'm doing. Why am I doing this? Why is everybody... Why are people allowing me to do this? I'm going to get found out any second and get taken away.
I don't think I ever get... I've heard... I have... my brain doesn't work very well most of the time in lots of different ways. But imposter syndrome isn't something I've ever really dealt with, right? But I do get this thing where even people who I've spoken to and know, when I meet them, I assume they don't know who I am. Like I met... I saw, because I've met Tom Vassell quite a few times, obviously, because I know him, right? And because I segment the Dice Tower, I've met him a bunch of times now. But sometimes if I see him, I still assume he will not remember who I am, even though he sees my face every week. I met Rodney Smith at from Watch It Played at Gen Con, and we'd spoken a bit online and stuff, but I didn't want to introduce myself as someone who does media stuff, right? and I just wanted to say hello because I'd not met him before, and I wanted to say hello. It's nice to meet you. But I'd met him before, but I was so convinced that he would not remember who I was at all, and I didn't think that he needed to or he should remember who I was. But I just assumed he's not going to. He meets loads of people at these things, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny. I do get the thing where I assume people. But I think it's a good thing to do, right? I think especially because there is no celebrity in board games. I hate the idea of someone walking into a place and thinking that everybody knows them, right? That drives me nuts. But I just assume people who I've met numerous times will have forgotten who I am. So I guess that if that's imposter syndrome in a way, I suppose, then that I do definitely get that feeling. But I don't think it is. I think that's just a complete lack of self-confidence.
Just going, it's like that. It's like, we went to school together. We're cousins. I came to your wedding.
That's it. I was best man at your brother's wedding. No, it's fine.
Exactly. I took your wife to hospital before she gave birth. You know what I mean?
I helped you move house. No, nothing.
Nothing. Not a thing. Not a thing. No. We're twins.
It's like that episode of Father Ted where Dougal meets Sister Mary Ann or something like that, and she's in the front room of the house and stuff. He says, "You remember Sister Mary, don't you?" And he says, "No." So you remember you were at the zoo and you fell in the tiger cage and you kind of and the helicopter and they took you around the helicopter and you fell out of the helicopter. It's like you're wearing that blue sweater. Oh, Sister Mary. Remember? It's brilliant.
That's what I love.
Brilliant. Father Ted. I'm a big Father Ted fan.
That's like Fawlty Towers. They kind of finished it and then they just left it. But I don't think they finished it through choice.
No, it wasn't. They were definitely. They
definitely kind of circumstances. That kind of stopped that show.
On the one hand, I'm glad they finished it when they did, but on the other hand, they really had no choice because the main, obviously.
Yeah. Can we let's move on.
Well, that's that then.
There's that mood.
That's that decision made.
Burst. That's that gone. Do we continue? No. Oh my word, Matthew.
What's happened?
All I'm gonna say is Dan Hughes, 3D printer, googly eyes. He stuck googly eyes on his 3D printer.
Oh, like it's a monster that makes things through vomit.
I don't know what he's doing. What is he doing? People are going to be listening to this and go, what the hell's going on? You have to listen to Sporadically Bored. It's the connection between the two of us. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, basically. Everybody's going to be eventually connected to Dan Hughes, which in a funny way they kind of are. You can
everyone
trace
is.
It all back.
Everyone is. I mean, do you know what? As much as I don't like to talk about Dan, he really is a big reason that I'm in the hobby, actually, because I remember listening to him he did that board game thing he did a how to start a board game group on the Dice Tower podcast. I listened to that. I thought, oh man, I wish I was around that and stuff. That'd be so good to be able to join something like that around me, because there isn't anything like that around me. And then he kind of like said hello to me at Aircon. It was really nice to me, and then invited me to this thing. And really, he's a good guy. He's a good guy for all the negative. The rumours are true, but he is a good guy. Don't worry about it. He's a nice fella.
He's got good character references anyway. I'll say that for him.
It's true, but the fun thing about Dan is that when he's at a convention, he doesn't sleep. I went to Dice Tower Con with him once. Me and him, we stopped in this, what I can only call a murder motel. It was bad, but it was fine. The door didn't quite close, but it was fine. It's just this weird motel in Florida. But he didn't sleep the whole week. I mean, he looked dead by the end of it.
I can just imagine he's got a backcomb beard and his hair slightly long and just sticking out at the back.
His beard had grown like a month's worth of growth, but just in a few days. He looked like a ravaged shadow of a man.
It's like, who are you? What have you done with Dan? Why is Rasputin in the same room?
You turn the light on and he's like, no, don't turn the light on. Sitting in the corner.
Away. Oh my word. With Christmas coming up.
Oh dear.
It's not an oh dear kind of question.
Go on.
But do you have? I mean, I take it you're buying presents for friends and family. Do you have the friend or the relative or someone like that you'll end up, buying the entry level game for, so you hope they get kind of more involved in the hobby, kind of thing?
Well, actually, a little bit, because my brother's into games, like, because I've got him into games and stuff. We play a lot of games. We play like, I'm a mid-weight, heavy Euro kind of guy, and I do play those games with my brother, and that's good. And he enjoys those and stuff. But him and his girlfriend like to play games every now and again, so I bought them. I mean, I've bought them basically a very small board game collection, but like he's got Tekken and
That's nice.
Tokaido and San Juan and a few. I think they've got a group of 10 games. And I'm like, I'm sure they only ever play them when I'm there. It's basically, I just like, they should just give them back, I think.
It's just extra storage.
It's just storage.
Without the guilt.
It is. And I've been trying to get my sister I'm trying to get her. She discovered recently that she's kind of enjoys escape game things and escape stuff. So I've thought, I'll buy her an escape room game thing. So I'm trying to get. I mean, I don't ever think she's going to be a gamer at all, but it's nice to play some games. It's because, you know what, honestly, the biggest thing about games, really, it's just an excuse to spend quality time with people. Anyone who thinks. I guess for some people it's not, but for me, games are just an excuse to spend quality time with friends and family, right? So if I can I will buy and play the game that are willing to play, a lot of the time. But yeah, I'm trying to get my sister into some escape games because she really seemed to enjoy that kind of stuff. So, and there's so many to choose from. I'm thinking about getting a Chronicles of Crime, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because that's technology as well, and that kind of will interest her. I think it's cool.
Yeah, I think it's one of these things though. You got to be aware that if you get somebody involved in the hobby, that doesn't mean that everything is now available.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people that are kind of like, I like a little bit of worker placement, so give me a bit of viticulture, and it's like, but would you like a little bit of terraforming Mars? No, I don't. Goodbye. Kind of thing. And there's that kind of thing as well. I know that my brother, he'll play games with his son, but trying to introduce him to anything a little bit heavier, I've just not got there. I've not bridged it. I'm kind of slowly making my way through by kind of letting him Small World, and I got his boy King Domino as well, which they really, really like. And I'm thinking I can slowly introduce more and more games. But sometimes folk just reach the limit and just say, look, I don't have 5 hours to play this. Just,
Yeah,
the roast's going to be burnt, kind of thing.
I totally agree with you there, because when you've got passionate about a hobby, right, it's basically an obsession. Let's face it. And and you kind of come into it, and you're, as much as you kind of think that your reasons are true and honest and valid, they're not. I just want someone to play, Trajan with,
Yeah.
Enjoy this, so I can play the games I want to play with you. But I think that's so off-putting for a lot of people. People who are introduced to the hobby and they're shown one game and then someone's gone, I can play all the games I want to play with that person. I think you really have to go, if you're the one that's into it and you're trying to introduce, it's like if you're going to go rock climbing with someone, you wouldn't say, you're interested in rock climbing, all right, so we'll do this little thing today, you enjoyed it. Tomorrow, I'll meet you at the murder horn. That's what I want to climb. It's like, no, they're not quite ready for that yet, and maybe they'll get into it and stuff. But it's interesting though, because some people,
your will and testament.
But some people, did you not bring your will? But for some people, no. You do. But some people you bring into the hobby, and you kind of like you bring them into the hobby a little bit, and then you hang out with them again in 6 months, and you look at what they've got, and you go, oh wow, you're into this, aren't you? You've kind of gone whole hog, and that's great as well. But I always kind of really believe there's a board game for everyone, right? And I do think there's a game that everyone will enjoy. It's like people who say they don't like anime. Okay, now this is a thought of mine. I don't know what your opinion of anime is, right? But there's because it's exactly the same as that with board games, right? Because there's a negative connotation to the people that enjoy it. Like with board games, it's geeks, and with anime, it's pervs. But but it's like you don't, and that an element of that can be true for sure. But I just watched a show called Arjun, right? It's basically an adventure horror thing. There's nothing salacious. There was nothing salacious about the whole thing, and it's like there's an anime that anyone will enjoy. I totally believe that, and it's the same thing with board games. There's a board game for everyone, but I like to try and get my mom to play some games sometimes and stuff because I think it's good for your brain, and I think it's good just to spend time with people and stuff. But my mom's not going to play. She's not going to play Scythe.
No.
She's not, and no interest in winning. But she might play Ganshon Clever.
Yeah.
And that's good enough for me. That's all I could ever ask for, really. And because it's not the game that you play, it's just the spending time with someone, and it's a good thing to do. Don't play Just One though. Have you heard of Just One, the party game that's just come out?
No.
Garbage. It's absolutely
Really?
garbage. I hated it. Everyone I played it with enjoyed it, but I hated it. Dan Hughes enjoyed it.
It's like the mind. I've heard people go, the mind is incredible. You have to experience being able to guess numbers in order. And I'm just looking at that and going, I could be catching up with Supergirl on the TV.
The problem with the mind, right, is that you've just said this to me. All the reasons I don't like Just One, I completely ignore when I play the mind, which I do enjoy. Oh, God, I'm the worst. I'm the worst of the hypocrites.
No, I mean, it is. It's kind of like viticulture. That's terrible. Do you want to play Scythe instead?
It's just so funny how subjective these games are all the time, and it's weird as well when you kind of bring someone and like if you're into, when you've got friends that are just into the hobby as you, but their tastes are just slightly different, and you go, oh man, I wish you didn't like a game with all these minis in and just wanted to play this game that I've got with all these cubes. I promise you it's good. We're both into the same hobby, but you hate everything I like.
I know.
It's weird.
I know, but it's the gatekeeping thing as well, because I think if there's nothing worse than, and you do see it, but you see it in every hobby, is somebody going, oh look, here's my shelfie, and somebody going, look at the state of that. Can I exactly that for? You're not call yourself a gamer, and it's like, Why are you doing that? This person likes this game. Why are you stopping? Why are you stopping them? You like what you like,
I really find that vile when it's like you look at someone and they go, oh, you've got there's Boulder Dash and a few there's a copy of Risk Legacy on there or something. You go, oh, it's like, well, any game that someone enjoys. If your favorite game is Scrabble, then go for it. Honestly, absolutely go for it. I have games I would love to suggest to you, but I just think, who are you? I just don't know who people think they are sometimes when they want to get. It's like when they want to shame other people in the hobby. It's like, well, I only play 18xx games, or I only play these war games and stuff. It's like, well, good for you. I'm glad you're enjoying those games, but they're not what I want to play. And my shelf, right? I don't own that many games really. And I'm very conscious that I try and keep all my games on one little bookshelf. I don't really want thousands of games because I don't play the games I've got. I've got 7 Steffenfeld games. And a lot of people may feel that is maybe too many Steffenfeld games.
That's just And
I appreciate that. But they're the games I like, and I just think if you're enjoying the game, then that's the thing with, you kind of see some, exactly what you just said about the mind, really. It's just like, you see some people playing the game, you go, I don't get it, but they sure do like that game.
They love that game, and it's like, I don't get it, but I'm not going to turn around and say, don't play it. The only game that I famously have always ranted about is Terraforming Mars, which I've done on a number of occasions in public. At Tabletop Scotland, I had a beautiful rant about terraforming. It's become almost like my joke is to go on and say, terraforming Mars, eh?
I hate Small World. I hate it.
I tried it, and kind of I tried it with the kids, and it was one of these things where I kind of went, kids, what are we going to do? Let's play a board game. Okay, what are we going to do? Well, we've got Mice and Mystics. Oh, we could play that, but I got given this for Christmas so we could play Small World, and we're playing through it, and it's the kind of thing when you're watching a film that everybody knows is okay.
Yeah.
But nobody's going to turn round to each other and say, shall we go and put something else on? Because we kind of like got through those, and then we kind of like got through it and went, is that it? Well, I'm just
That's
moving
exactly,
that here.
Yeah, that's how I feel about Sword World.
know.
I physically hate that game, right? I really dislike it. But I've got a friend that likes it, so I will play it with them because they like it, and that's perfectly fine with me. It doesn't make me recoil. It's just a game, right? And it's just. Have you tried Underwater Cities, by the way? Just as a quick side note about board games, have you tried that yet?
No, I have not.
A lot of people have said it's a bit like Terraforming Mars, but different. Maybe you'll enjoy it. Maybe it might change your mind on it.
I think the only thing that happened with me in Terraforming Mars was the way that we played the drafting mechanic, and it just, as I say, I mentioned that on other places, and it just put me off.
Did you?
I was just
and your first time playing it?
Yeah, I just had a really set of bad hands of cards, and I just went, well, that's me.
Well,
I'll just sit here. Guess I'll die.
Exactly.
Kind of
that's terrible. I played Seasons like that. First time I ever played Seasons. Actually, I don't know if that's how we did it, but I can maybe. First time I played Seasons was with Luke Hector, right, at Aircon, and I hated it. Look, I just didn't get it. And now I love it because and it was my fault for just not getting the point of the game. I was like, it's all about transmuting these things into getting the gems and stuff, right? And it's not about that at all. It's about crazy card combos. That's the whole point of the game. It's about doing ridiculous combos. I didn't get it, but but if you were to draft that game, because you can draft the cards, I played it with my brother like that, and I was like, we draft the cards and stuff, and I was like, actually, do you know what? There's starter hands that you can also do. Let's do those, because that's how the game's designed for people. Yeah, I can totally see how you had a bad experience with Terraforming Mars, because you can just be, oh, okay, well, I haven't won this, but I'll see you in 3 hours where I can declare that officially.
Yeah, exactly, because you can see, I don't know, that was the only thing I kind of felt that once I was into it, I can't go now. I can't now sit and just do my turn for the sake of it kind of thing. I know I'm so far behind. I know I'm not going to get those rewards. I know I'm going to be third. That was the funniest thing about it. I wasn't like last place.
Yeah.
I kind of knew I was funny. But it doesn't matter. Because, as I say, I can put that to one side. I don't have it. I don't own a copy. It's fine. I've got other games. I've got Vindication sitting there, which I love. I love playing Root at the moment. I really like Ravage Dungeons of Plunder. I really like playing that. I played Wasteland Express Delivery Service, and that was a good time. There's so many games out there that are kind of good times. I mean, is there any games that you are? I mean, if Santa's real, yeah, and we know he's real.
Yes. If he's listening, you mean?
If he's listening, yeah. And if he gave you that magical list and says, okay, put down, 3 games. You can have any 3 games you want. It doesn't have to be new, doesn't have to be bright, doesn't have to be shiny, could be old. I mean, is there any kind of 3 games that you'd really want to get your hands on?
Yeah, big time. Quite a few, let me see. I've got a list somewhere. Let's have a look. I'm a massive fan of lists. At the moment, I would very much like to get my hands on a copy of A Pleasant Journey to Neko, which is this.
Oh, right.
Yeah, which is this. It just looks pleasant. It's a euro, and it's a bit Japanese. So I mean, count me in. I would look Ginkopolis. Is like a game I'm desperate to try and get my hands on. It's never going to happen. It's super out of print. I don't want to. I'm probably. The thing is, though, every time I've done this, I've bought a game that's been out of print. They've reprinted it. I remember buying Frenzy, which I ended up hating, but I did mock up. I bought this copy. I mocked up all the cards, and just as mine was in the mail as they announced, as Queen of Games announced, they were reprinting it. Which just anyway. But Ginkopolis, A Pleasant Journey to Neko, which is completely doable because it's coming out. And what's it called? I've owned Glory to Rome in the past.
Really?
I owned the black box edition, but I then I got it for like a really ridiculous. I think I bought it for 40 quid, which is ridiculous.
That is ridiculous.
And then I thought, I don't play this very often, and I wouldn't mind just selling this for the money. I don't know if I regret that now. I probably do. But it is a great game. I wouldn't mind a copy of Glory to Rome again. They should.
I
Just
wouldn't mind.
print it.
I think there's games that I keep for memories over actually playability now, or playing. I think there's games that have a certain amount of nostalgia. Like I wouldn't get rid of Mice and Mystics. I wouldn't get rid of Pandemic because it's one of the first games I played with the kids. The same with Mice and Mystics. I wouldn't get rid of that.
That's definitely a thing. There's a different there's different currencies of value, aren't there, that you can put on games, and nostalgia and what's the word? What's that word? Sentimental value. That's the word.
Yes.
Of some games, you kind of go, well, I'm not gonna get. I've got a really beat up copy of Seven Wonders Duel, and I could just go out and buy a new copy of Seven Wonders Duel because it's about 15 quid or something. But I don't want to because that beat up copy was gifted to me by someone, and I've played it a lot of times, and I'm gonna keep that copy. I probably could just replace it, but I'm not going to.
No, exactly.
And there's a few games like that. I've got what else have I got that's like that? Not Ispahan. I've got a copy of a game called Amethyst, which is an older starry game, which is just a wonderful, wonderful game. And that was gifted to me, and I wouldn't sell it. Not that it's only worth about £6, but I wouldn't sell it because it's important to me now, and even though I don't play that often. But it's funny that this kind of, you do grow very attached to these inanimate objects sometimes, and I'm very much a one in one out kind of guy. Buy them. If I don't like it, I'll sell it. I'm quick to call games, really, really quick to call games. But I don't think I've got that many games at the moment that I'd really be happy to give up on at all. It's weird.
I'm quite terrible for being maybe too lazy to sell them, and sometimes just take a couple and put them in a charity shop.
Mm-hmm.
And then about 3 weeks later, you see somebody going, "Look what I found," and I'm just like, "Yeah, that was me."
Yeah, because it'll end up on Facebook on Board Game Trading and Chat. Someone will say, "I was in this charity shop. You'll never guess. I just found a copy of Scythe and stuff," and it's like.
I'm just keeping the dream alive, Matt. I'm
just
keeping the dream alive, Matthew. I just want these people. I want people to continue to go, because charity shops are important for charity reasons. And I just occasionally want to just put... I'm just kind of perpetuating this
You're
myth.
seeding these charity shops with games that people will know the name of.
Just occasional random stuff. I'll just go and stick one in. There you go.
Because I'm a big fan of charity shops.
Big.
I'm a massive fan of going to charity shops and looking for board games. I'm addicted to it. I love it. I found my only two things I've ever found were I found a copy of Twilight Struggle, which was brand new in shrink.
Wow.
I got it for £2.50.
Wow.
And I got a copy of Pitch Car for £3.
No way.
Which was
Oh wow.
It was a great find. But other than that, I think you have to go into 100 charity shops to find one game of that's half worth buying.
I think I found Dungeon Lords, and also there was an expansion to Super Dungeon Explorer as well. One of the expansions,
just an
which I'd never seen.
Oh,
just sitting there.
Well, someone will have bought the expansion thinking it's a full game, and then gone stop this, and then
just dumped it. I just went in, and it was like £3.
You are right about selling games, though. I just, because I'm doing these reviews and I'm buying the games in, then selling them on, and I did a whole thing recently, and I sold a bunch of games I bought for review, and I thought, this actually is a lot of work. This is taking me all evening.
Do you know what's the killer? Do you know what the killer is? It's the shipping price, because you got to ship. You got to ship, and you go and ship it through the normal. And I know people say, "Oh well, don't use certain companies," and I completely respect that, because if I'm sending something to somebody, I get really precious about that, and I want to make sure that when they open it up, it's kind of like Christmas Day. So I'll go all out and spend, be like a tenner on Parcel Force or something like that, because I make sure it's all wrapped up well. And then you go and list it, and you say, okay, well it's going to be £35, but it's a tenner for shipping. And folk are like, "Oh, you're having a laugh, a tenner for shipping." It's like, I'm not Amazon, mate. I'm not shipping it to a warehouse for you. It's not free shipping.
Yeah, exactly. Because I've been doing this thing where I've been charging an extra £2 for shipping, and it's like, you kind of, I don't know. I because the second you post something and it's not in the accepted format on Facebook, for instance, there's a few Facebook groups for this kind of stuff, right? People will just eviscerate you on there. I accidentally said once I'd prefer PayPal friends and family if that's possible. And honest to God, it started like I think about a 60, 70 comment thread on this. I was like, okay, I'm just trying to sell some games. I'm going to delete this now because this has turned into a political argument for some reason. I was like, this has gone massively out of hand. But I'm just trying to sell some games. I was just trying to say them. It's like, oh, well, this is the sum. This is how much money you're. I'm like, okay, I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I don't do this all day, every day. I do apologise. I was just saying. I mean,
I know.
But the thing is,
take it down the local. Yeah, sorry.
I was going to say the thing is, but I know I'm not trying to rip anyone off. But they don't know that. They don't know who I am. So I do understand that. But it's a bit of a nightmare. I'm going to wait till Aircon this year. And I'm going to take a massive bunch of games there, I think, and just sell them there because it's easier.
I think I might go to Aircon as well.
You should go. It's excellent. It's absolutely fantastic.
Well, it's Harrogate, isn't it?
Harrogate, yeah. It's at Harrogate Convention Centre.
It's only about 3.5 hours. I'm actually speaking to Mark next year.
Well, it's probably about the same distance for you that it is for me. About 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah,
well,
it's
probably a bit further for you, but yeah, it's fantastic. It's the best convention in Britain, I would say. For me, I think so. I've not been to all of them, but I think it's better than UK Games Expo, put it that way.
The only thing that scares me about UK Games Expo is that I won't be able to get away from the UK Games Expo. As in a case of not be able to kind of like, not a case of but I won't be able to say, right, I need 5 minutes to myself here and have a little bit of quiet time. And,
it's easier at UK Games Expo. I went to Gen Con this year, right? Because I was in America already, so I went to Gen Con. And you think, I'll just leave the convention centre and just go outside and get... Because I am very much in that same camp as you. I like to have I need 20 minutes now on my own, please. I just need to recharge and have a drink of something, sit down and try and just sit on the floor in the corner away from everyone and just recharge, because I find it very, very draining to just to be around people, really. Not talking to people. It's like it takes a lot, for me, it takes a lot of energy to do that. And but you go outside of Gen Con, right? And it's busier outside the convention centre than it is inside the convention centre, because there's 60,000 people there, and only about 10,000 of those people are in the convention centre at any one time, or 20,000. Everyone else is milling around. And you kind of go outside and try and get a breath of fresh air, and you go, oh my God, this city is too small for this convention. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's insane. Every shop is rammed in the whole city. Every street is full of people with board game T-shirts. It's absolutely insane. The only escape is hotel rooms. And I was stopping at Mike Delicio's house. So
Mike, that silver-haired devil who's been teasing me and taunting me with his game collection.
I was at his house, right, and I was stopping there with another friend, and because he was in between houses, so I was at his place he is now, and he was stopping with his family at his old house. Me and my friend were stopping at his new house, and we just said, you know what, we could go to Gen Con today again, or we could just stay here because there's a whole board game library right now. So we could play any of these. He's a sucker. He's a cult of the new. He can't help himself. Every time something new comes out for Scythe, I message him and say, "Guess you're buying this, aren't you? Because you're all in." You're gonna get this legendary box. He said, "Yeah, it's on pre-order."
Do you not ever tease him and kind of make up kind of expansions? Get some of that kind of like that stock art and just get the font and just make up stuff. Do you know what I mean?
That's a good idea, actually.
Have you got the sea rising of Clackmannanshire? And you're like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean?
I might message him later, actually, and say, can you believe they're coming out with 2 new factions for Scythe?
Oh my word! Oh, you should
just get Dan to 3D print.
That's what I was gonna say. Get him to 3D print one. Just get him to 3D print like a random model from somewhere, and just go, "Have you seen this?" That'd be so brilliant. That would be absolutely.
I'm
This
into
has
it.
to happen now.
That's
Because
a
this
good idea.
podcast isn't going to be out for like a week anyway, so we could do it in the
We've got
meantime.
ages to do it. That's a great idea.
That-
But when
that'd be-
when I saw that those metal minis were coming out, the metal mechs
yeah.
for Scythe, the first person I messaged was Mike Delicio. I said, "Are you buying these?" And he went, "Well, I don't know." I said, "All right, whatever you want to tell yourself."
Exactly. You should admit it first, and
Just
that's the way to recover.
Admit you've got a problem.
Exactly. I have to draw this to a close, I believe,
That's
because
okay.
we've
It's
done
getting late.
We've done the quick buzzer round, and I didn't want to bring it back to a quiz. You know, we've actually spectacularly managed to probably keep 75% of this completely board game free, which is about my batting average, to be perfectly honest. You know, I get this all the time. It happens all the time. Should we talk about your Kickstarter?
Oh yes, I'm doing a kick.
45 minutes in. That's what always happens. Yeah,
I
it
think
just
that's
happens.
for the best. I honestly think that's for the best. No one really cares about this game's broken or anything like that. It's just, whatever. Just let's talk. Hang out.
It's a good fun show.
It's
It's
all right.
enjoyable. It's educational. The whole, I remember laughing my ass off at the barcode rounds, because and I found it extra funny because part of my job is actually teaching people about barcodes. So there was extra. It was like, oh, a couple in jokes going on here then. Eh? Are they doing UPCs or EANs? I can't wait to find out. Hey, do you know what I mean? Oh, it's all getting quite interesting. Are they going for the 12s or the 13 digits kind of thing?
That's
you
it.
know?
Those rounds have been the most divisive. When sometimes we did one round where Dan did one round once where he rolled a dice. We had to guess what he'd rolled, and it was just, we found it hilarious. So some people are like, there's a divide between British and American humour that sometimes showed up in those kind of things, and but it's fine. It's fun though.
It is. It's very, very good. Thank you very, very much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. That's fantastic.
This has been a lot of fun. If people want to find out where you exist on the internet, the internet. Oh my goodness, the internet webs. Where do you exist on the internet webs, Matthew?
If you want to find me on the internet, I advise you seek help from a local mental health specialist. No, I would suggest go to This Game Is Broken just type This Game Is Broken into YouTube. We're there. Or This Game Is Broken on Twitter. Or you can email us if you want at thisgamesbrokenpodcast@gmail.com if you would need to get in contact with me desperately about something. Send me something for free. No,
remember, the best time to contact Matthew is 3:30 in the morning because he always responds.
I do actually. Yeah.
It is kind of like that gaping paranoia.
It's true. The best time to get me, I'm almost completely nocturnal for some reason. And the best time to get me is 3 o'clock in the morning my time. Greenwich Mean Time, 3 a.m. I'm there. I am awake.
I am ready, and I am.
I'll tell you what though,
I am powerful.
11 to midday is not the best time to contact me at all.
Not at all.
Imagine I'm on mountain time, I think is the best way. I'm on like LA time-ish all the time. That's what I'm on LA time, man.
I'm an LA time.
Just in case I get that phone call.
How'd you get to Tesco's then? You just walk in and go, open the doors. I'm on LA time.
I'm on
I
LA
demand
time.
to be let. I've got to pick up some Mountain Dew.
I need some hummus.
Some hummus. Oh my hummus!
Do you not know who I am? I've got a podcast.
Exactly. It's about board games, and then somebody go, "What? Monopoly?"
Yes, just like that. Now let me in.
Just like that. Don't you know who I am? No.
No. I'll just quickly say I was at New York Airport, right? Not New York Airport, it doesn't exist. I was at LaGuardia, I think, one of New York's airports, and someone came up to me in the airport and said, "Oh, I love your segment on Board Game Breakfast," or they said, "I like your podcast," right? Can't remember which. I was that taken aback. I have no idea what they said, and I was like, "Huh." Someone's knows who I am in the wild, and I realised 1 second after the most audacious thought that I allowed to run through my head, and realised we'd all just got off a plane from Gen Con. And I was like, it's someone who's been to... It's not just anybody. I've just been on a plane with a bunch of board gamers. I was like, how dare I be so up my own arse that I could think that that's possible? And but then, you know, and I was at a board game cafe with Gil Hover, right, from Formal Ferret Games, who's a fantastic person. And the person behind the bar at the board game cafe listened to This Game Is Broken. I was like, that's fine. No one else in New York is going to know who we are. But in this board game cafe, there's a chance that once a day, someone may have heard about us on Twitter. So that's all I need. That's all I need.
Weird.
Real fame would destroy... like I said, I would be a baddie. Real fame would destroy me instantly.
Exactly.
I would be a terrible person.
The only time I've ever been followed around somewhere is around the Superdrug, when people think I'm a shoplifter and I'm after the toothpaste.
I am paranoid that people think I'm a shoplifter, and that's definitely something.
I just look like I stole everything.
I look like I can't afford things. That's how I look. I wear a hoodie a lot.
I don't know. I look like I've either stolen it or I've eaten it.
Yeah,
one of the two.
I look like I'm eating an Easter egg on the way around. That's.
I'm kind of like one of those folk that's kind of gone to the Tesco fruit section and nicked one of the satsumas from the "here's some fruit for your kids" section. You know, just going. I'm going. What are you doing? I'm 9.
I'm only a wee lad.
C. Exactly. I'm a sailor.
Thank you for having me on.
Of course, scurvy.
I was going to say, thank you so much for having me on, though. I just want one day to be invited on something before Dan Hughes gets on it. That's all I need. And it's not happened yet, but it will do one day. One day it will happen. If you want to keep an eye out for when that day might be, then you can follow us on Twitter, We're Not Wizards. You can follow us on our website, which is we'renotwizards.com. You can follow us on Facebook at We're Not Wizards, and you can follow us on YouTube if you go to We're Not Wizards Tabletop Podcast. We're on various different podcast catchers like Podknife and Acast and Stitcher and Spreaker and Spotify and all these other places that you can get your podcasts on. If they've got an ability for you to give us a little rating, then do that. If you like us really, really, really lots and lots, there's a couple of things you can do. The first thing is tell somebody else, because it's nice to get, it's the best way to grow a show. It's the best way to show your support.
Even if you don't like them, just go and listen to that.
We don't care if you listen, right? Just download.
No,
we just want the numbers.
Just
the numbers, innit?
Download. Or you can go to Apple Podcasts and you can drop a subscription. That's even nicer. Or give us a rating or a review. If you are going to be giving us a rating or review, don't give us 10 stars, because it makes me big-headed. I don't need it. Don't give us 1, because it'd make me cry. Give us something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average. And we're just a little bit average. But the person who's not been average is rather wonderful. They're rather fantastic. He might be slightly broken, but we love him dearly. It is the one and only Mr. Matthew Jude. Thank you very much for coming on, sir.
Thank you so much for having me.
And there's only 2 more things to do. The first thing is to remember that we are many things, but we're not wizards. Are we wizards, Matthew?
Hell no.
Absolutely not. And the second thing is to say goodbye. So, as I say, it's a goodbye from the rather wonderful, rather fantastic Matthew. Say goodbye, Matthew.
Bye.
And it's a goodbye from me. Remember, stay safe, roll6s.com. Check out This Game Is Broken, because it's fun, and there's a lot of work that goes into it.
That's true.
So not only listen, but be grateful. but until the next time, because that's a bit scornful, isn't it? Sorry, we love you, really. Till the next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
A wizard is never late. nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.